Good morning. Tuesday morning. Welcome, Chat Mob, to another wonderful edition of the 3-Man Weave College Basketball Show, hosted by our friends at SBR. That's right, our pals at sportsbookreview.com have got us set up, ready to rock this morning. Of course, they've also got plenty of other resources, so check out sbrpicks.com/NCAAB. The URL is plastered across the top of this screen. Also, check out the SBR odds page to compare lines. We always recommend that. And of course, like button, hit it. Smash that like button. Also subscribe to their channel, youtube.com/SBR Sports. Boys, it was a wild night last night. Gonzaga made us sweat, got us down to that push. What did you take away from last night, Ky?
Well, Jim, I took away from last night, Ohio State is a bona fide 1 seed. The Buckeyes, start paying attention, folks. I know some people are already getting the Buckeyes in their head, but they're a 1 seed right now. Up to 10-4 in the Big Ten, 9-3 against Q1 competition per the net calculations. That's the most Q1 wins in the country by a fair margin, and 6 of those are on the road. That's incredible. A bunch of Q1A wins, too, which are like elite Q1 wins. They have the 4th best offense in the country. They have a fantastic coach in Chris Holtmann. A legit Final Four contender, I say, Matthew.
Ky, that was my thought as well. So I'll just, pose a question to both here. I'm a little more skeptical of this Ohio State thing. Their defensive apathy at times doesn't sit well with me. I think they're extremely reliant on shot making from Dwayne Washington. We saw this same Buckeye team go on a surge and peak, prematurely last season. You could argue now they're just now hitting their stride, but I think there might be some regression coming. We've seen, Big Ten teams play this musical chairs atop the totem pole. Iowa being a team that comes to mind that sort of started to slow. To me, Illinois is starting to look like the best team in this conference. So as impressed as I have been with Ohio State, I just want to, pump the brakes on crowning them the clear best team in the Big Bad Ten, Jim.
Maybe not the clear best team, but they're playing the best right now, man. I don't know what you can say about them. That spot was pretty terrible for them last night, coming off an at Iowa win, got to go on the road to Maryland. Maryland needs wins like blood right now to get anywhere near the NCAA tournament, and Ohio State handled them. I mean, it's just really impressive what they're doing right now. I have 2 quick takeaways. One, big night for favorites last night. I think, let's see, I have a little list here. If I can find my document. We had Colorado, Kansas, Ohio State, SMU, Furman, Minnesota, San Diego State. I'll take care of business. Yeah. Fortunately, UNLV and Gonzaga did not get there, but lots of favorites doing well. Of course, on the other end of the spectrum, the Delta Devils of Mississippi Valley State.
Let's go, baby.
First win of the season for the last place team on KenPom. What a game. Cameron Cunningham had 34 points, hit 8 threes, 7 in the first half. It was nuts. Delta Ds are on the board. We're happy to see it.
Look out. They're coming, Jim. They're coming. SWAC, beware.
That's right. Let's get to our board, though. Let's look over to the schedule. We'll start in the Big 12. West Virginia at Texas Tech. This is a rematch of a wild game from just recently. West Virginia outlasted Texas Tech 88-87, mostly thanks to Miles McBride going McBananas in that one. Yeah. West Virginia scored on 11 of their final 12 possessions down the stretch to erase a 12-point lead. Now we're looking at Texas Tech favored by 6.5 after such a big shootout. I think it might be back down to 5.5. But Ky, is this number too big for a battle of Big 12 foes?
I think it is, Jim. Yeah, that was my first reaction. Wow, this spread's high. And then it went even higher overnight and this morning. West Virginia has certainly not been fantastic without Sheboy. Their KenPom rank's gone down a bit. Still a dangerous team, though, man. They won at Oklahoma State. They beat Texas Tech, like you just said, Jim. They beat Kansas since he was out of the lineup. So still a very good team. Still coached by Bob Huggins last time I checked. Meanwhile, Texas Tech, they're just a half game back of the Mountaineers in Big 12 play. Certainly motivated here, especially after that first loss. Game 1, guys, was a shootout. 1.23 and 1.24 points per possession, respectively. That's crazy against 2 very good defenses. I just think West Virginia is too tough to be a 5-point dog to Tech here, even though Tech's at home. So it's a big lean for me towards the Mountaineers, Matt.
Yeah, it's one of the few games, Kat, where I think the weave is against the early steam. So It kind of gives you a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, but we'll see how it plays out. I'm with you. I think the line just opened a little bit too high. It seems like this is a game in which the odds makers gave true, full home court at a Big 12 typical level, which for Texas Tech has been around like 4 points historically. I just don't buy that. I know they have fans. I know their environment's been one of the better ones in college basketball, but I think up to 5.5, 6 is too high. I will be on West Fa on an official show play. I just want to also remind folks about the over trends in the past. We saw this game play to 175 points in the first match of the season. Both meetings last year went to 75 possessions. I'm not playing the over, but I think it's 140. That's probably worth a small dabble, Jim.
Not for me. I'm staying away. I've got like no value on the main board. I will just give that a little teaser for today. I'm going to be sitting a lot out, but in this one, yeah, I mean, West Virginia, I feel like is in kind of a tough spot going on the road after the big Kansas win, and they've got the little revenge angle for Texas Tech. Whether you believe in that or not is up to you, but it is there. It's a stay away. I wish you well, Matt. I do feel like gut instinct number seems surprisingly high for what should be kind of a coin flip game. Yeah. All right, we'll move down to SEC country. Arkansas at Kentucky. Big Blue Nation just still reeling right now. They can't get things figured out. They're so bad down the stretch of games. They were playing with Tennessee over the weekend and then got kind of their butts kicked late. They showed a stat during the Missouri game last week that they're like negative 40 points in the final 5 minutes of games. They just get run away from every single time. The young team cannot keep up. Now they play an Arkansas team that likes to go. They have some solid depth, really, really big guards that can give Kentucky's backcourt problems. I don't know, Matt, you see anything promising from Big Blue Nation enough that they get a win here, or are they looking at yet another L?
Yeah, I was going to pull a pony special named after our beloved SMU ponies who delivered in the first half yesterday and shockingly didn't collapse in the second half. A round of applause in order for them, which has been a trend. The Kentucky, as you mentioned, the same late game bugaboo has continued to bite them. I was going to take Kentucky first half, but the movement was pretty sharp early. I believe it opened as a pick, got bet up to Kentucky -2. Now it seems to be settling right down around that -1 pick value. So I'll stay away here, Ky, but I do lean the Cats, especially from a first half perspective. For opening 20 minutes, home spot, I think that's they come out strong.
Yeah, Kentucky just kind of looks hopeless, guys. Lost 3 straight. Certainly the schedule's been very tough. They've played the SEC's arguably the 4 best teams in that stretch. But Arkansas has been a lot better with Justin Smith back in the lineup. We've talked about it a couple times. They went on that skid. Justin Smith came back. All of a sudden, Arkansas is kind of getting their swagger back. Kentucky has to get out and transition the score. If they try to play in the half court like they did against Mizzou, they're not going to be able to score. Arkansas has plenty of size in the paint. On the other end, though, I think Kentucky's D can disrupt Arkansas ball handlers. They're certainly long enough, and they are 34th in the country in effective field goal percentage allowed in transition. We know the Hogs love to run up and down the court. The spot tells me Kentucky, but, I mean, I don't have the gall to back the Wildcats currently, Jim.
I saw you sneak that little Mizzou compliment in there. Like, they played the top 4 teams in the SEC. Yeah, that's right. The Tigers were in that stretch.
Spot the lie.
That's true. Kentucky's 1-6 against the number. Their last 7. I think they're still getting a lot of respect from odds makers that is not deserved. It is more, we're like waiting for Kentucky to play well, and they just haven't been. I mean, in a game that's basically pick 'em, I am a heavy lean to Arkansas here. I can't quite get there on my number, but I just don't. With Kentucky and Duke and Michigan State, I mean, we'll talk Sparty probably in the chat mob section of this episode. I'm kind of done waiting for these teams to play well. They're just not good. They're not coming together. We're not seeing it from these squads. And Calipari's had some weird issues off the court talking about his players. Yeah. Terrence Clark officially out for the year, and suddenly he feels bad for him after a week ago saying there was nothing wrong with his scans. It's just a drama show for Kentucky. I've got to lean towards Arkansas, but can't quite take it. All right, let's go Big East. St. John's at Butler. A game that went kind of nuts in the overnight market, really got hammered towards Butler's direction, which surprised me a little bit. I mean, given the way these teams have been playing, St. John's has been terrific lately, got a couple of big wins, knocking off Villanova, knocking off Providence over the weekend, and their pressure can probably bother Butler's young guards. I mean, outside of Aaron Thompson, there's a lot of youth and not a lot of ball handling in the Butler backcourt. So as long as St. John's is engaged, I think they can give problems, but this is a huge buy low, sell high spot, Ky. Yeah. So are you riding with market, or are you leaning back towards the Red Storm?
I don't know why you'd go against the Johnnies. Like I really don't understand the steam. I don't understand the steam in a lot of games today. Maybe that just makes me wrong. But the Johnnies are rocket ship, man. 6 straight wins, 20 spot jump in KenPom. Those wins are legit too, man. Especially that Villanova win we saw recently. Yeah, game 1 was pretty easy, like you mentioned. Posh Alexander, Rasheem Dunn, Julian Champagne are talented basketball players. If they're hitting shots, St. John's is a tough team to beat. I don't think Butler can handle this pressure. I don't see them winning this game, frankly. The spot certainly steps up well for them, Matt, but I have to lean the Johnnies.
Yeah, I'm just frustrated because I was a Johnny's guy for the first 2 months of the season, and they just kept laying dud after dud. And of course, they turned on when I abandoned ship. So just the timing of the gambling markets are never kind. Butler did handle the pressure fairly well in the first game. I guess 16 turnovers is not great. Actually, I probably should say not ideal. 24% turnover rate there. Chuck Harris did not play in that game. He's been a key catalyst for Butler the last two, one of their emerging freshmen that's really stepped up here. I think the early steam on Butler was the right action, but I'm just not trying to get in front of this St. John's freight train, especially with the way Julian Champagne is playing right now, Jim.
Yeah, bigger note from that first one, too, besides Chuck Harris, Aaron Thompson had 2 fouls in the first, 90 seconds and barely played in the first half. Yeah, that really hurt Butler. Obviously, without him and Chuck Harris, really difficult to handle the pressure. St. John's has been extraordinarily hot from the outside lately, made 10, and 9 triples in their last 3 games. It's not really their game. Posh Alexander has found a perimeter stroke that I'm not sure is totally sustainable for him. That said, I kind of lean Johns after the steam. The +3, I just think is a little too much value. It could be a close game. And it's just a hot team right now. I would be more inclined to ride with them than hope to buck the trend with Butler right now. Unfortunately, nothing for me. Fence rider, Jimmy sit-outs today. Moving on to the MAC. Kent State at Bowling Green. This is another rematch. Kent State nipped them at home in a 96-91 shootout the first time around. Danny Pippen had a career-high 34. Our cover photo artist, or cover photo today, Danny Pippen, what a stud. Bowling Green can't stop him, to be quite honest. But unfortunately, Kent State has possible major personnel issues with Mike Nuga out for the year. Justin Hamilton missed this weekend's game with a back issue. Matt, are they just a little too short-handed today against Bowling Green that really needs a bounce-back performance, or do you just kind of ride with the Golden Flashes again?
Well, Jim, I think we're on opposite sides of the spectrum here, but it's contingent on a key player, as you alluded to, Kent State. Justin Hamilton, their starting big guy who stands alongside Pippen in that front court, missed that game. I think he's the key piece. If he's back tonight, I think there's a little bit of value at Kent State. If not, I want no part of this game. We basically have 2 games now, a 2-game sample size of what Kent State is without Nuga, and then a 1-game sample size of sans Nuga. And Hamilton did not look pretty. They needed a late rally to get by Miami of Ohio in that first game. So I think there's a little bit of system shock this team has to get used to. You know, Pippen's knees are really shaky, and there's always a chance he could be a late scratch, that he might tweak something. And I think they need to rely on him for 37 awesome minutes to keep up their pace. So I'm a little bit worried about that, Ky.
Yeah, I just don't know what to think of Kent State without Nuga. Like you said, they had to make a furious comeback. They still scored 1.1 points per possession against Miami. Only 0.86 against Akron. I'm not sure if that's more so because of Hamilton's pile-on injury. I can't really get a good read on it. But I know Bowling Green, though, is struggling. They've lost 5 straight. It's incredibly confusing. They were the favorites to win the league in the preseason by most outlets. Jim said Pippen, had 34 in the first game. That was off the bench, too. Bowling Green has absolutely zero answer for him inside. Yep. I just can't totally back Kent State without Nuga. However, I do lean their way.
Yeah, I lean Bowling Green actually today. I just think they competed really well with Kent State, and Nuga was a huge part. I watched basically that whole game of Bowling Green at Kent State, and it was like, okay, Nuga's making a ton of defensive plays. He's their best rebounding guard by far. The Kent State fan forums are up in arms about our guards don't rebound anymore without Nuga. We need him back. And Hamilton obviously just exacerbates that. He's one of the better two-way rebounders in the conference. Yeah, Matt, I will be on Kent State if Bowling Green if Hamilton is out. But I just got to wait and see the lineup. We just don't have that information here in the morning, unfortunately. So you and I will wait and not square off head to head.
Yeah, it is a home run spot there, Bowling Green, Jim. You mentioned they're up 6 days off, just lost to Western Michigan at home. So, yeah, if there's a game they're going to play well, this has to be it.
Yeah, they've shot 16 of 64 from deep in their last 2 games, 25%. I could see some positive regression upwards here. They shot really well against Kent State in the first meeting. All right, let's go to Chat Mob. You two argued over who's going to be the chat czar. I'm going to give it to Ky here because Matt's just kind of a ball hog sometimes. So, yes, Ky, what kind of Chat Mob questions do we have?
It was a debate. I was the better debater. I proved my case.
You were the master debater.
I am the master. I'm the guy from old school. Regis LaSalle Bonnies is a question. asking if this spread's too high, and I think it's climbed to like 13.5. Matt, I'm inclined to say it is a little bit too high against your Bonnies.
LaSalle's been really good. You got to tip your cap to what they've done in the last few weeks. Quietly, been a little bit of a mini wagon in the A10.
Except for the Fordham loss.
Well, that was bad. But other than that, I mean, the SLU game looks pretty good now after SLU finally got their mojo back against St. Bonaventure. I think they played 2 other good games I'm blanking on right now. I think it's too high. I'm a Bonnie's guy. If I think it's too high, the whole world just think it's too high. So.
No Scott Spencer likely for LaSalle. He missed last game. I think that hurts. I think it's maybe a hair too high, but staying away. Bonaventure's off that loss to SLU. I think they might be angry in this one.
Nick asks about Penn State and Michigan State. He has a question. Why is Penn State catching 3 here? Jim, personally, I don't know. I have to lean towards Nittany Lions because Michigan State is sad, man. Very, very sad.
It's the Kentucky effect that I talked about earlier. Like, teams are betting these teams hoping that they get back to program level, and I just don't see it right now. I watch Michigan State, and it is bleak. Like, they can't score. They have no direction offensively. Rocket Watts is garbage. And even defensively, they got lucky that Nebraska shot terribly from both the 3 and the free throw line last game, or they could have lost at home to them off a long COVID shutdown. I have no interest in backing Michigan State here. Big lean towards Penn State. I might even try to talk myself into adding it later because Michigan State's just brutal right now, Matt.
Yeah, Michigan State's only good games have asterisks next to them, right? The Rutgers game was the spot of the year for coming off that Rutgers hot streak. And then they basically get Iowa sans CJ Frederick. We know how that Iowa team's looked without him. And then Nebraska, obviously the COVID shutdown. So there's nothing you can point to Michigan State that says this team's about to figure it out. They're just not that good.
We got Jay asking about Alabama and South Carolina. Jim's darlings, Alabama. Matt's darlings, South Carolina Gamecocks. Yeah. Matt, you're feeling the Gamecocks tonight?
I am. They've been very Jekyll and Heidi. The Georgia win, very impressive, I think 2 weeks ago. Then losing at Vandy was a head scratcher. Then coming back home, or then going to Florida, a very good Florida team. Winning there was like, okay, maybe this team's starting to figure it out. But then you come back at home and lose Mississippi State by 16. So I'm basically betting on the continued seesaw and upward swing tonight. I think a good effort is going to come out here against the Tide. I will take the Gamecocks. I think 6.5 is the current number.
This is another injury thing. Herb Lewis might sit just to rest his ailing back. There's a chance they just give him like the whole week off to try to get healthy. If he's out, then yeah, you got to lean South Carolina. He's been so crucial to what they do on both ends of the court.
Sorry, I slapped at a chat comment. James Madison, Elon, everyone's at. This is like the favorite game in the chat mob currently. Everyone thinks James Madison's a lock. Jim, are they right?
I don't know that they're a lock at the current number. Nothing's a lock, but Elon is a joke right now. That team is bad. They don't know what they're doing offensively, and they might be even worse defensively. So James Madison with Matt Lewis leading the pick and roll charge for them. I would have to lean James Madison, but the number's been bent up a little bit. Tough to recommend it on the current number at 5.5.
Yeah, Duke's legit. I just don't want to get in front of that steam right now. I think the number's gotten a little bit too high, but there's no reason to, as Jim mentioned before, try and pick off the right buy low, sell high spot with the momentum trending so strongly in both directions on each side here.
Larry, among other people in the chat, asked about Vanderbilt and Auburn. Guys, I love Auburn. I've said it multiple times. I think this is a game they bounce back in. It's gotten a little bit too high for my liking, show-wise, Jim, but I like the Tigers in this game.
Yeah, my gut instinct was Auburn, a team that's going to run with them, and Vanderbilt. That just sets up well for Auburn. Maybe an overlean too. It's a high number, 156.5, but it's entirely feasible. Both teams score 80 here, and this is road Auburn, so their defense is probably a little worse than home Auburn. And Vandy sneakily got some scores. Scottie Pippen Jr. can fill it up. That point guard battle is going to be a lot of fun with him versus Cooper.
Yeah, I believe this is the third game in a row now. They'll have everyone healthy for Vandy, save Quentin Malora-Brown, who I believe is supposed to come back very soon, if not tonight. But Isaac McBride played the last 2 games. I mentioned him, the former KU transfer. It's 2 straight covers for the Doors. I think they're sneaky competent now, Mr. McKeon.
Okay. How about Creighton, Georgetown, guys? What do we think about this game? Creighton's been a little shaky. Georgetown looked pretty good against Villanova, but Villanova has kind of been sleeping at the wheel to the last couple of games. We'll go to Matt first. Anything?
Loved Creighton on the opener. It got bet up from 6.5 to 7.5. Maybe one where maybe you take a first half dabble here. Certainly a Creighton revenge spot sounds like a really fun spot to bet them, but I just think the value's gotten too much or too high, Jim.
Georgetown's length really bothered them in Omaha. Like Creighton was out of sorts offensively, which is rare to see for a McDermott team. But yeah, the revenge, the anger angle is a little too much for me to overcome and re-back Georgetown in this one, so stay away.
Creighton's also been hurt, too. They had a couple guys go down with injury in that last game. They both returned, I believe, Damian Jefferson and Christian Bishop. But that team's been, dings and nicks all year. So it's just not a team that has that same top gear as a big favorite.
Maybe one more, then we go back to the rundown here, guys. Texas and K-State from Renzo Brothers. I don't really have a take in this one, Jim.
I do.
I really don't either way. Yeah, Matt, I know what you're going to say.
We know what you're going to say.
I lean Texas. Why would you? I don't say what you got to say.
Took K-State small. I think they've shown signs of life. Now they're close to fully healthy. They've not been healthy all season. Even DeJuan Gordon's out for this one. I still think there's value on the Purple Kittens.
I just disagree that they've shown signs of life. I think this team is bad. I'm sick of hearing that they're beat up. They've got like only one guy out anymore. I just have disagreed a lot with Matt on Kansas State this year, unfortunately. Texas is so athletic. If they care at all and they're coming off a loss, I think Texas should win this one pretty big, honestly. They're actually coming up. Texas has lost 3 straight games. They should demolish this team.
Hey, K-State's been competitive against their 3 other good teams in the Big 12 at home. So Oklahoma State game, misleading final score. They got like the last 10 baskets in that. The West Virginia game was closer than the final score indicates. Texas Tech, they just covered. I think the Purple Kittens are not awful.
Unfortunately, not awful. For the final spread, the final score matters. So if they're giving up late runs because they're not very good.
It's a Kentucky syndrome for sure. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, let's take back the rundown.
All right, let's get back to it. Let's go to the A10 VCU at Dayton. This one is a similar, a lot of these are rematches at this point in the season. VCU just thrashed Dayton the first time around, held them to 43 points. It was a embarrassing offensive performance for the Flyers. Jalen Crutcher got suffocated by the athleticism of the VCU defense. Dayton only shot 3 for 20 from deep, but they were all challenged, contested shots, a lot of rush stuff towards the end of the shot clock. Ky, do you have anything in this A10 battle, or is the Dayton lack of depth just catching up with them right now?
Yeah, plus VCU's just been really good. I have them as an at-large bid right now in my latest bracketology on 3-Man website.
Plugs.
Yeah, they ran Dayton out in the first game. Dayton scored 0.66 points per possession. They were 3 for 20 from 3. Probably not repeatable performances, but still a concern. It's the same VCU defense, right, in this game. I think we do see a better effort from Dayton, but the pressure is there from VCU. Even with Jalen Crutcher, an incredible guard for Dayton, one of our favorite players, I still think VCU's pressure is going to bother the Flyers. They take away the 3 very well as well. VCU does really guard the perimeter. So I'll say this, Matt. If Dayton had a full arena tonight, I would lean the Flyers. But in COVID times, I'm going a lean towards VCU.
Big thing to note here. Sissoko, I believe, is out tonight for Dayton, correct? Phil, I didn't do the due diligence there. He's a key bench peach, big guy up front, and he's not a world beater by any means, but this Dayton team has no bodies left. They basically used a 7-man rotation in their last 2 games, and they've, I think, only on a 3-day break. They played last Friday. So, yeah, that does worry me. I actually think the under is a good play here. So I think the first game we saw go 65 possessions. The total was 110. I think VCU just suffocates Dayton's offense, which is pretty much Jalen Crutcher do something for us.
Yeah, Dayton doesn't take advantage of what VCU does poorly defensively, and that's they don't rebound. Dayton is a bad offensive rebounding team, and VCU fouls a bunch, and Dayton doesn't really get to the line. They're a little more finesse, spread out, shoot the ball. So, yeah, I worry about this matchup for Dayton. Lean towards VCU. Under, I think, actually also has some value as well, Matt. So even though that first one sailed way under, and perhaps there's overreaction, I would have to agree with you. All right, let's go to Matt's beloved Blue Devils, who are breaking his heart this year. Yeah. Breaking your heart. Down to 500 overall. That's crazy to say about Duke in mid-February, basically. Notre Dame at Duke here. Duke rolled in South Bend, though. They took care of business, one of the few good games they've played this year.
Yep.
They made some shots in that game. They also made shots against North Carolina this weekend, though. Unfortunately, the Heels made even more. That's a potential possibility here as well with Notre Dame shooting, their perimeter potency, Duke's defense. Matt, are you worried about like a letdown kind of thing after the big North Carolina amped up matchup, or do you think your Blue Devils bounce back?
I am, because just because Duke beat them pretty handily early in the season at South Bend, along with the fact the Irish are starting to play well. I believe they're 5-1 in their last 6 against the number. The guys are just making shots. My only concern here for Notre Dame's side is the fact that they're not a team that's going to exploit Duke's, glaring weakness, which is interior defense. So, maybe you argue they get jump shot reliant. They miss some shots that fuels Duke's run out transition game, which is the only way they score efficiently, by the way. I think if you have to play a side here, which you should not, I would have to endorse Notre Dame or bust. Ky?
Yeah, my question is, should Duke be favored by more than 5 points against anyone at this point? It seems a little high to me. They did win the first game by 10, like Jim said. I don't know, man. Notre Dame scored well in that first game. I just think Duke was incredibly efficient. And that's how they kind of ended up winning by 10 there. Duke is a huge paint edge, especially with Mark Williams' emergence. He didn't really play much in that first game. Yeah. His late play has been very impressive for me. It's a toss-up for me. I agree, Matt. No side. I guess I lean Duke. They just have too many athletes from Notre Dame. But like I said, the spread just seems way too high for this Duke team.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the Kentucky and Michigan State thing we mentioned, where the number just has a little bit of a Duke price built into it, I think. If you put any other team on Duke's jerseys this year, gave them the same resume and performances, it just feels like this shouldn't be up where it is. And Notre Dame's played 3 really good games in a row. They blew it late at Georgia Tech, but they still covered that game. They've been really solid over that span. So lean towards Georgia Tech, but for some reason my number made it 6.5, so I don't have much of an edge on that one. Maybe my Duke number is just wrong as well. So It's not just the odds makers, it's me too. All right, one more on the outline before we get best bets and the chat mob rehearsal. Go back to them. Syracuse at NC State, yet another rematch. This just happened 10 days ago. NC State's first game without Devin Daniels. They hung around really well at Syracuse, handled the zone, had 19 assists. 3 guys had 4 assists among them. Really good ball movement. Still had no DJ Funderburk in that game, and still were pretty impressive. But Matt, Syracuse gets Sidibe back. I'm not sure how much of an impact he'll have in this one. He does clog up the paint some. He didn't do anything over the weekend in their loss to Clemson, but perhaps he has a little more of an impact in this one. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I think Sidibe is going to be a huge piece once he's back and fully integrated. But just given the slow pace in which they brought him back, the very little burn he got in that game over the weekend, I'm not going to factor him too much in my handicap here. I think the Daniels thing is real. We've seen NC State, while I should mention they competed in that first one, they're still 1-2 against the numbers since he went down. The only game they covered was that most recent.
No, they're 2-0-1, I think.
Yeah, they covered Syracuse game. And
that's right. You're right. Okay.
Boston College.
I still think they're in trouble. I think the Boston College game has the biggest asterisk next to it. Boston College, a huge COVID shutdown. I would lean Cuse here, but the number's about right.
Yeah, well, I mean, they pushed with Virginia, too. They played incredible in that game. They hung with them. But I agree. I think it's a ticking time bomb, Devin Daniels being out of the lineup. Funderburk also missed that Syracuse game. Hopefully he's back. He's big against this zone. It's because Syracuse also, on the other end, had no trouble scoring, rebounding, or handling NC State's pressure in the first game. I just can't really back the pack again here without Daniels. I think it's going to continue to build. But I also hate Syracuse. They're my favorite team to fade. So I'm just staying clear away from this, Jim.
Yeah, I have a lean towards North Carolina State here. It strikes me a little bit as the first Syracuse Pitt game where Syracuse collapsed late, and then I guess it's a little bit of the inverse. Never mind. I will throw that comparison in the trash. But without Daniels against the zone, it's less impactful. I mean, they're a big pick and roll offense, and he's the lead maestro of that. But against the zone, you're not really running pick and roll anyways. So I was just impressed with the ball movement the first time they played. Now you add another interior threat in Funderburk as a finisher inside. I kind of give a slight edge to NC State here, but this could be a game where Syracuse's shooters just come out and are white hot from downtown. Yeah. So I will save my only bet of the day for best bets. And on that note, let's get to it. Ky, let's go to you for your best bet of the evening.
We're skipping Matt?
Ky's first on the outline.
Check the outline, big dog.
It should be you. Ooh. I think someone messed it up. Iowa State plus 6.5 is where I'm going.
All that matters is I'm last, Ky. All that matters is I'm last as the host.
Wait, Ky, oh my goodness.
Iowa State plus 6.5 is my best bet, guys. I'm going against the steam. I don't understand the steam, frankly. I don't know why it's rising. It doesn't make sense to me. My only inkling is that Iowa State is their third game in 7 days, but they've been very good recently when they're healthy. They hung the entire game with Oklahoma. They closed late against West Virginia. Javon Johnson being back in the lineup, He was only there for Oklahoma. He missed West Virginia's game. Is huge for them. He's their best player. He makes them so much better. He's going to be huge against TCU. He was out of lineup for close to a month, guys. I mean, he missed a lot of time for the Clones. Now, TCU's been super impressive, too, in their own right, their last 3 games. I just think the spread's gotten way too high. So Iowa State's going to be a play for me, folks. Best bet, Matt.
Hey, I will join you, Ky, and I will also join Jim on piling on top of you for messing up the outline. How dare you try and blame it on the outline sender as the issue? Just follow the protocols. Come on, we know this by now. 6.5 is the current number, so I will lock that in with you as well. My best bet, I'm going with the total. I'm trying to be Jimmy Undertakers today. Georgia State, South Alabama, under 144, 143.5. Anything 143 and above, I think it's a good play here. You're getting Georgia State off a COVID shutdown. They're playing South Alabama, who's playing their 3rd game in 5 days. This team was already shorthanded. They were down another key rotational piece, KK Curry, last game. They could be with only 6 tonight. I think it's a bad matchup on both sides for the offenses. So I just don't see how this game gets over 140.
Yeah, I think tempo could be up there a little bit. Georgia State does want to run, but out of that shutdown, I would tend to agree with you. Not strong enough to take it with you. I wanted to like Georgia State in this matchup.
I did too.
Out of the shutdown, yeah. I just can't quite do it.
I'll just start real quick. And West Virginia and South Carolina are my other 2 plays. I think South Carolina at 6.5 and West Virginia at, I think it was 6. I'll check. Pending. Go ahead, Jim.
All right. And then you also had Iowa State with Ky. So
four for Maddie. Yes, sir.
All I've got today is the lone extra board, and it has been bet up, unfortunately. So I'm not really thrilled about the value right now. But North Carolina Central minus 2.5 against Florida A&M. They were lifeless in the first half yesterday, to be perfectly honest. There's really nothing else to say. They were terrible. They were 1 for 15 from deep until like midway through the second half. Then they figured some things out. Lavelle Moten extended a press. They had some energy. The bench started to get involved. They got some turnovers. I think that carries over into this one. Coming off that loss yesterday, just an ugly, ugly performance for the Eagles. I think they get a road victory against Florida A&M on the back-to-back. NC Central minus 2.5. Wish it was lower, but I backed myself into a corner here by waiting until the end to make a pick.
Yeah, that spread really got
up
there, man.
Come on, we need you, CJ Kaiser, deliver.
That spread got up there. I totally agree with you on your lean, though, man. That was a pathetic effort yesterday.
So bad.
Moten's going to have the boys motivated in this one.
Yep. All right. I think that's it. Chat mob. Should we recap any other games, Ky?
Well, Matt mentioned the total on South Alabama and Georgia State. Do we have a side lean, guys? 5.5. I kind of lean towards the Panthers, but nothing strong.
Yeah, like I said, it did hit 5. Like I said, I wanted to back them here, but out of the shutdown, I'm just a little bit nervous. We don't know for sure who's going to be in the lineup. I think that's probably the biggest thing keeping me away. Kane Williams did not play out of their last shutdown. So they could be without a starter or 2 here, and it would just be pretty frustrating to be on that. So I'm going to wait and see where it ends up and who's in the lineup for them.
All right, last one, guys. New Mexico, Colorado State. I guess this game is playing despite New Mexico's flirtation with shutting down the season. It's got to be Rams or nothing, right, Jim?
Yeah, fine. I'll add a second bet of the day. I'll throw Colorado State on there. I kind of still think this game is going to end up canceled just because New Mexico's program is in shambles and players are opting out. But I'll take Colorado State minus 17.5. I think the altitude plus whatever is going on in that New Mexico program is just bad news. So, yeah, I'll take the Rams. I don't know how you could get excited about backing the Lobos here.
It'd be funny if New Mexico is like, let's play tonight's game, play really well, and then just quit the season. So, like, that entire angle just backfired.
Well, it wouldn't be funny now, Matt.
No, it would not be funny. It would not be funny.
All right, that's it, Jim. That's all we got.
All right. Okay, thank you everyone for watching. Make sure to hit that like button. We definitely appreciate that, as do our friends at SBR, the presenters of this show. Subscribe to their YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/SBR Sports. We were, especially me, a little bit on the fence today. So if you want more picks, head to sbrpicks.com/NCAAB. They've got some write-ups there, some more content for you. And, make sure to check that out, and the odds page. Always get to the odds page. I know Matt loves to plug that. I will do it to get to those lines. Make sure you line shop. But that wraps it up for Tuesday morning show. Thank you again to everybody. We will see you Wednesday morning, same time, same place.